Hello, this is Brett Benson again. I'm going to show you how to install Zorin Linux, which I think is another close one to Windows, since some people may be converting. So I'm going to go out here on my Windows machine, and I'm going to search for Zorin OS, which is a version of Linux based upon Ubuntu. And you can download a Pro version, which gives you, I believe, support and other features, but it also costs you some money. What I'm going to do is I'm going to end up, right there's money, and I'm narrating this while I'm watching it. I'm going to download the free version, which is what I recommend for everybody. And the basic use of the core is called the core. Zorin, and I'm doing 17.3. There's also an educational version. Up to you. And it tells you what different versions they have as to what they cover. And the professional gives you additional features. And you can go out there to the website and see like additional artwork and productivity tools and suite of apps. But you can probably find what you want out there anyway. Not saying I'm against the Pro, but I install free. Which what I'm going to do is I'm going to download the free version. And it asks you, but you don't even have to fill this in. You can just go down to skip to download. You don't have to tell them who's getting it or whatever. Yeah, however, if you want to read their newsletter, that's fine. And I'm going to download it. I don't know if I'll fast forward through this or not. I may. It'll take quite a while to do. And I think I will skip forward on this here in a second. But it downloads on the Windows 11 machine, unless you change where you're downloading to. It should download to your download file. And in the meantime, you can also check and see about what's required to install Zorin. And it tells you system requirements, tells you what you need in CPU. And unlike Windows 11, and I'm going to criticize Windows 11, it doesn't require a lot of these extra features. You can get by with 1.5 gig of RAM, 15 gigabytes of storage. If you want to do the Pro version, it's 40 gigabytes. Almost any CPU within the last, I don't know how many years will work. USB drive with at least 8 gig is what I'm going to download and install, and so I can boot off of that USB drive. So I'm going to download, well, I'm not going to say I download, but it recommends you download Ballerina Etcher to create your not floppy, but your USB drive. And I already have it on my machine, so I'll show you. So here I finished the download, and I'm going to have it show me where it's at, which should be my download files. And of course, it is in my download folder. Alright, it's good to know where it's at. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick in my computer here a USB drive. And I may have had problems at the beginning or not. I can't remember. I'm just watching this as I'm doing it. If it sounds like you hear birds chirping and other noises, it's because I'm outside. And I did stick in my USB drive. And it's not showing up, which is fine. You know, you can reformat it wherever you need to. I've not stuck it in there correctly. But once your system finds USB drive, you can then use the etcher to create a bootable flash drive. All right. And there it is, and it found the USB drive. And it's asked me what file I want to do, which is the Zorin OS, which I just installed. And then I'm going to flash it. And I apologize for the blank out there. And it's creating a bootable, again, bootable USB flash drive that I'll then boot on another machine, which comes out of my, I should say, Windows 10 select overstock of laptops. Might even be a Windows 7 overstock. But most of these are not capable of running Windows 11 per Microsoft's requirements. However, there are ways to get around it, which I'm sure some of you know. But I'm going to Unix on most of them. Linux, sorry, not Unix, Linux. Which I may go a Unix version. Debian. BSD Debian. Again, criticize me if you want to, but there's multiple versions of operating systems out there, and newer ones coming along all the time. So it's flashing here in the etcher. And then it goes through and it does validation, which I think is great. Make sure all the data is written out there correctly. Again, sometimes I use a program called Rufus, R-U-F-U-S, as my software to create my bootable USB drives, flash drives. But most of these are wrecking now this etcher, and it's free. So I downloaded it and run it, and it's really nice, simple for most people to use, which is the idea. You want to get simple and free to use. All right, so it says that I've done it. And now I'm going to my actual used laptop here. It's a Dell. I forget exactly what version it is, and to me it really doesn't matter, but it was running Windows 10. And this is the flash drive that I created using Etcher. And I'll stick it into the USB port. And I'll have to get it open, turn on the computer, and then press F12 in the case of this Dell system so that I can choose what I'm going to boot off of. And they're present. And they're up in the corner right there where it says preparing boot options. Now the top one is actually the USB drive that I created, but I'll zoom in and scroll down so you can actually read what it says, because it's hard to see on this camera, this display. And I could boot off of whatever's on that PCIe M.2 SSD. That's where I'm going to actually install it to. And I could choose the USB partition one there, but I'm choosing the USB storage device off a legacy boot. If it's a UEFI or U whatever, you can choose that, the USB storage device, that way too. And here it comes up. It asks you which one you use. I just let it go ahead and select one, the default one, which is the OS, and not the Safe Graphics and the others. But if you need to, choose one of the others. And it starts booting from the flash drive. Zorin icon. And you see down there as it scrolls through all the stuff that's loading to get the operating system running. And you could just run it off the USB drive. You don't have to install it, but I like not having to carry around a USB drive on my computers, and most people don't carry USB drives to boot up and run their operating systems, although you can do that. I'm going to install it right on this displayed laptop. And on some occasions, I do go ahead and cut ahead if it's really boring. But in most cases, I'll run through the actual process live. Well, not quite live. Been recorded. And here we're booting into the desktop. Kind of looks a little bit familiar, doesn't it? Well, that was the idea. This is the default one that comes with the system. And then it gives you an option of running it or installing it, which is the right one, right side icon, which is the down one. And I'm going to go ahead and install it right on this computer. You could just try it if you want to. Again, I'm going to do the install. And since I'm in the United States, I'm going to choose a lot of the defaults automatically. Not really worry about a lot. You may want to adjust it for your particular country or language or whatever you want to do. Again, this is the United States. Just hit continue. You can connect it to your Wi-Fi at this time. It'll automatically do downloads. But I'm not going to connect it to my Wi-Fi at this time. Just to show what it looks like, even if you don't have it. You can literally install it without having a Wi-Fi. And so I'm going to do it without the Wi-Fi activated. And then it says, do you want to use third-party software to make your system run better? It's default, so I'll go ahead and accept that. I'm going to change it. I could say no, and it may or may not cause problems, and I don't think it does. But and then I also clicked on the other one. I can't remember what it was. Skip registering or something like that. And I'm going to erase everything on the hard drive and install it just with Zorin Linux. And that's usually my plan with the machines. If I'm going to go Linux, I'm going to go Linux. I don't want Windows dangling around there anywhere. Just me. You can decide what you want to. You can have it with multiple operating systems. And then I'm going to pick my time zone. Again, you can choose whatever it gives you. But and my mouse doesn't work very well. But anyhow, so I'm in the Chicago Central Time Zone. And then it's going to ask for a username, and I usually give it a name like owner. You don't have to give it whatever you want. It could be your name. And then I put in a password. And if I put in a password, I write it down on a piece of paper. I write down what the password is. I sometimes even write down and stick it on a label right on the machine. So many people forget their password and don't know where they put it and can't remember from time to time. And I have a lot of business from people who forgot their passwords. So don't forget it. Write it down somewhere. If you're concerned about security, put it in a little notebook and lock the notebook in a safe where you can forget the number to the safe, and then you've still lost your password, but there's other ways around it. But it's always a good idea to write down your passwords for your equipment, because if something happens to you and somebody important to you and your family knows where it's at, they can get into your information in your system. So always get in a situation where you can pass it on to somebody. And here we go. We're installing the Zorin operating system. And I'll probably just sit here and watch the little bar go and watch all the boring displays. This is version 17, by the way. You can get some of the older versions if you want. And again, some of the older equipment will not support some of the newer operating systems, so you might have to install OS 16 on a piece of equipment, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it'll do mostly what you want to do, and same way with the others. Again, sometimes these companies stop supporting the old versions, but, not going to charge you an arm and a leg and then really not support. Linux itself has a lot of support out there, and a lot of it is free by other users, not by some corporation dictating you what you should or should not have or do. Although there are corporations involved with Linux and stuff like that. I'm not saying that they're wrong or bad or whatever, but anyhow. So this is the Zorin being installed. And you watch that little blue bar at the bottom and take a nap. And sorry for my editorial comments. I know it may not be liked. If you have any questions, by the way, about computer operating systems or Linux or computers, I do support a lot of elderly people with their computers, and I'm basically elderly myself. I'm over the age of 65. And I've been working on it since before DOS came out. Well, IBM DOS, PC DOS, before the PC even came out. And there's been a lot of other old folks like me, but I've stayed up with this. You know, I've done some fantastic web pages. I even had one of my web pages put in a book as an example at one time. I've written in so many languages, this is incredible. I've worked on so much hardware. I still even have old Apple II and TRS-80 Model 3 and Model 4 and TI-99 4A, all vintage computers. I have a batch of them that I still keep running and write things on once in a while. Just because I'm just one of those people. A geek, I guess. So if you have any questions or problems or something you want to bring up or think I should cover, just email me, text me, leave a comment here, and I'll be probably doing it. I think this is probably the way I need to go now, even though I did not like the fact that a lot of people that I was in competition with work at, younger generations, would come out and watch my information in my videos and basically take the job away from me and then call me up and ask me how to do the very thing that I was previously hired to do. That does irritate me, but I've realized that's life now. Once you reach a certain age, they're just going to throw you out like trash. But you got so much you can still give, so give it in some way, I guess. Another editorial comment by myself. So as you see here on this display, the little bar is zipping along slowly while each one of the files is being displayed there as to it being installed or whatever's happening to it. And again, the reason I choose Zorin as my second one, the first one I did was Linux Mint, was Zorin, Linux Mint Cinnamon to be exact. Zorin looks a lot like Windows environment, and I'm really doing this to help people move away from Windows. Not because I'm telling you have to. I'm not saying that, but I've worked with a lot of Windows machines, Windows 7, Windows 10, Windows 11 in factories and businesses, and it's gotten to the point where some people can't even run what they need to run to do their jobs. And I'm saying it exactly the way I'm saying it. There's so much bloat and other garbage in there, and then the problem is once you start stripping that stuff out so it can run the applications and the software you need to run, then you get criticized by the corporate for messing it up to where Microsoft doesn't like it. It's kind of a catch-22. I don't like catch-22s. This will work for many people, especially if you do web browsing. If you want to write things up, there's some very good Office-like applications that are free that come on the system and usually installed directly on the system, which I'll cover that later if you want me to. So in the meantime, I'm just talking about the operating system. In most cases, you have a web browser once you get into it, so if you want to watch my YouTube videos, which you should do, yes, I'll try to get back to kaleidoscopes. Yes, I'll try to get back to all the other things I do. right now, a lot of health reasons with myself and my wife, that I don't have a lot of spare time. And also trying to make money now in order to keep my livelihood going, which isn't great. By the way, if people would go out there and join my become a subscriber, I might make 1,000 to where I might be able to make money off of this one. So now, here it is done. You need to restart, and I'm going to hit restart. And the screen will disappear and everything else. And we'll be back to the new one. Voila. Right. Now we're starting, well, this is shutting down, and then we'll start back up, and I'll be using the application just to record the desktop itself. I'm unplugging the USB here so it doesn't boot off of that. And as you can see, it'll start back up. Yeah, I have it set to go out there and check if there's a Pixie boot, which means boot off the network to install something or run something. Garbage truck goes by. Yay! And we're going to stop it and picking up garbage. I apologize for this noise. Like I said, I'm outside. And here we are booting into Zorin right off the hard drive, or not hard drive, but off the SSD, solid state drive that's on the system. It says, welcome to Zorin OS 17.3. Tells you all about self. I keep going out here wanting to change the date and time because got some wrong information there. But it's no big deal. I can show you that if you want to know how to do it. But I keep, and somebody's actually talking to me, I believe, at the time I was recording this about a specific date. I thought I'd use the system to do this. But anyhow, it starts up and it lets you go into the operating system. Shows you all the features through this. And I apologize again for doing that. Probably should have clipped it out, but what the heck? You can watch me make an idiot of myself. Alright. Shows you what you can do, how to open the menu, which looks a little bit like Windows 10. They didn't put it in the center like Windows 11, and then you can change how your desktop looks. There's a lot of applications that are free that you can put on this, and other stuff. So just read through those if you want to. Again, I get a lot of people who ask me a lot of questions about computers because there are no really books, manuals like they used to give out with old computers. So again, feel free to text me or message me or whatever you have a geeky computer question, I guess. Alright, so here we are. You can actually go out there and do a software update. I'm going to connect it to the network. And once you connect it to the network, and it's going to ask for user ID and password, that's why you write down your password. Because some people would have forgotten it by now. That was my network password. Yeah. So I can connect to the network. So I'm connected. And then it goes out there once it's connected, finds out that, yeah, you have updated software since this was released. You want to install it? I'm going to install it. And sometimes you do find out that once you've installed something, there are updates already out there. And this is how simple it is. Again, it's going to ask you for your password of the user. In my case, it's owner. And then it starts the downloading process and updating. Yeah, I'm hoping to find time to actually write some of my old applications and programs that basically need to be written again, and making them for Linux, since there's really not a lot out there, and I think I could probably do well doing that, but I gotta find the time again. Health issues, financial issues, and time issues always seem to hit you. Family issues. Not saying family's wrong. And again, you can recommend my site and get more people to sign up to subscribe to my channel. That would help me out tremendously. I might be able to get to 1,000. I've been fighting that for years. I might be able to start making some money off of doing these, which would help me out tremendously. So hit the like and subscribe, like everybody else says. And if I get a chance, I may show you other versions of Linux to install, or maybe even other operating systems to install instead of going to Windows. No, you don't have to go to Windows 11. You can stay with Windows 10. But go out there and do some research. You may not feel comfortable sticking with Windows 10. I still have a machine that runs DOS, PC DOS. There's other DOSes out there that are not for these things. And then there's free DOS, which I run on a machine, and other operating systems. So if you have one of those you want to talk to me about or have me do an install of, I'll give it a try. I've got machines. I have a lot of Windows 10 and Windows 7 laptops that can be upgraded to another operating system. Alright, it says restart now.